So, hello everybody. How you guys doing in the new year? I have not really focused on making some videos in the past month or so. It is the middle of February here. And I figured it was about time I shoveled some crap for you guys, right? Because crap makes things grow. So hence, if you watch my crappy videos, your stuff will grow. That's good logic, right? I hope you guys are doing absolutely amazing. These days just fly by, absolutely fly by, and the world is beyond crazy. Talk about train derailments and, crazies running the insane asylum and everything else. My gosh, it's just insane and crazy everywhere. But that's alright. We've focused on things that we can control. And I'll tell you what, have you ever just, smile on your face, son, just grown seeds yourself that you've harvested and cleaned, and you just sit there, just run your hands through them, and especially when you're cleaning them, they're after you're sitting there winnowing them, whatever, and just running your fingers through them. I don't know. Is that weird? Fondling your seeds. Do you get off on it? But anyway, guys, I have right here for you. Now, you gotta remember, I'm in Central Florida, so our seasons are different than everybody else's. A lot of even summer crops, tomatoes, summer squash, and a lot of that stuff, beans. Most of those are wintry crops here in Florida. Or, you gotta pick and choose depending on cold tolerance, like beans. Some like it cooler, but warm, but can't take a frost. So you gotta keep that in mind. Some of these seeds I'm done with for the year and harvesting now. Others are just getting ready to get planted. And, I may be done with something, but farther up north, it's just now your planting season. So, while I'm cleaning seeds and going through my seeds, planting stuff out, I thought I'd get a little group here together of some of my most productive and favorite things to grow from seed. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but these crops here, and there may be other varieties in the category, do absolutely amazing for me. Just yield wise, productivity, just flavor, ease of growth. You can't beat these. And these are, I think I have 10, 12 varieties, species of seeds here. And they span the entire growing season throughout the year. But without further ado, enough yakking. I'm going to describe these are beans and seeds and varieties, everything I plant every single year without fail. For nutrition, for yield, for deliciousness. Here they are. I think there's like a top 10 list of seeds you must grow. It'll be my heading, right? don't you guys like seeing those videos? 10 seeds you must grow every year if you want to survive. I don't. Right? So anyway, let's see what I got here. These right here. These are pea seeds. Peas for us are pretty much done. Peas here in Florida are from, depending on when the cool weather starts, which we got really cool starting in October. So I started a lot of my peas in October, super early. Normally, sometimes they don't get started till December. Yeah. So I got a really, really good jump start on the pea season. And peas are amazing, guys. You stick them everywhere. Stick them under your fruit tree. Stick them on your fence. Most peas are pretty vigorous, though there are types that only get a foot or two tall that don't really need staking. And those ones, you can stick those in rows or anywhere. The taller types, let them climb up your dormant fruit trees, let them climb up your fences, your chain link fence, let them just put them everywhere, and that's what I do. I plant peas everywhere, every growing season, every winter for us. But a real standout that I really like is the purple magnolia peas. It's a purple pea, and they're just super productive. They take the temperature swings very well. They can go from 80, 90 degrees, no problem, down to freezing, 20 degrees, no problem. They're very drought tolerant, very porous. Oh, excuse me. Always when I talk. Very poor soil tolerant. And I've grown them for years, over 10 years. And it is a pea that I love. Purple magnolia peas, of course, purple peas. They're purple. The pods, you can pick them as snow peas, flat pods. Though I think they're best when they start to fill out. And they're filled out about halfway, three-fourths way. And after they've had a frost on them, delicious peas. You can shell them if you want, but the whole pod's edible. Really good. Purple. Beautiful purple flowers. I think I've got a little clip I did the other day of them, just a day or two ago. I'll put it up. Really beautiful. Super productive. They are very vigorous peas for being so drought and poor soil tolerant. These guys grow. So a trick for growing those guys is actually to pinch the tips on them. When they're about a foot tall, growing up your trellis or your fence, your tree, pinch the tip, and they'll actually branch out. And then let those get about a foot tall, and then pinch that too. I know it seems like a bit of work. You can just let them grow, of course, but if you pinch those tips a few times, you'll get a branched, bushy pea plant that'll still be very vigorous, but trust me, it will increase your yields exponentially. From just a single shoot, growing peas, every leaf node at about 4 feet. And you'll get quite a bit you can pick, but then they just keep getting taller. But if you pinch that growth when it's young, and you've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 branches growing off that single pea plant, all of those are going to give you pea pods while you're just sitting there picking them. But really good. This is one that I grow every year. All my other varieties I switch around depending on what I have for space. But I grow my purple peas every year. Super productive and delicious. And another thing right here. And this is just a variety that I really like. But radishes, They're super fast growing radishes. You can get, if you have good soil and good water, there are varieties of radish that will give you a golf ball sized root in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which is absolutely insane for food. You just throw some radish seeds in, and if they're happy, super fast. And even if they're not, they're still extremely fast and productive. And remember, all of these seeds, these are all seeds I grow. These are all seeds that I've saved myself. And all of these have been for years. I've saved seed for years off of all of these. But this one happens to be a Chinese short radish, which is a winter radish. And it's a big radish. They will get easily as big as footballs. But a nice mild flavor. And if they do get a nice frost or freeze on them, they get nice and sweet. But of course they can take the cold. It won't kill them at all. Just like the peas, they can take the cold, no problem. But one that I grow every year. And I eat a few radishes, I like to slice them up. I don't eat them raw. And I saute them in some butter. Really good. And I save seed, tons of seed every year. And these are ones that once you start saving your own seed, because seed can be expensive, guys. Yeah, it's, it is. Just especially, all this is hand winnowed, hand cleaned by me. It takes effort to clean and harvest seed and grow it. Don't forget that. There's a reason why seed is getting and always has been pretty expensive. But just keep that in mind. But radishes, all types. They come in every shape, size, color you can imagine. They all pretty much taste the same. Some get sweeter than others if they've had some cold on them, But they're all pretty much radishy tasting, The different flavonoids and phenols and everything you find in the different colors, of course. But other than that, radishes, guys, must grow. You can stick these anywhere. They don't care about the soil, rich or poor, they will grow. Though they do like a bit of moisture, though they can take it pretty dry. They just take a little longer to grow. They send down a big taproot. Must grow radishes, guys. And then they produce tons of seed. So save your own seed, and just like the peas, just like all of these, they make a great great sprouts, which are super delicious. Super goodness. Oh, sorry, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning right now. Before I go out and do the animals, I'm sitting here yawning. Sorry. And yeah, sprouts, super delicious. Radishes, pickle them, eat them, feed the greens to the animals, eat them yourself. Can't beat them. And then, move along to the same kind of line. The Brassica crops, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbages. Super easy to grow, and if you save your own seed and you get enough of it, you can just sprinkle it over a prepared bed, and you don't have to be as picky with starts and everything. Just clear a bed or make a row, sprinkle the seed in, harvest the ones you want to eat, and the ones that space them out. Super easy, super productive. Can't beat it. This happens to be right here, sandy pants broccoli. It's a heading broccoli, about the size of quarters or a little larger. And this is one that I've actually selected out myself years and years and years ago. Been growing it for about 15, 20 years. Yeah. And I literally just grew tons of broccolis and everything one year. And this one just came up and did amazing. It was a huge bushy plant and just grew, took the heat, took everything, no problems. And wow, I don't even know what it was originally. And I think it actually came up in a Waltham broccoli bed. And it clearly was not that. And it just did amazing. All the other broccoli plants died out from the heat. And this just kept going. It kept sending up flower heads and seeding. And I ended up saving the seed. And I've worked with it for years. And it is an amazing sprouting broccoli. This is just one jar of it, We've got jars here, but I've got tons of that. And it doesn't mind the heat. Nothing bothers it. It takes the poor soil. Likes a bit of moisture. The Brassica's like a bit damp. But other than that, sandy pants broccoli. Emerald sandy pants is what I ended up calling it. And I've actually sold this for years and years and years and years. And there's actually, I want to mention it, because buy it from me. Does that sound bad? There's a seed catalog that picked this seed up, Emerald Sandy Pants Broccoli, and I believe they did put my name on it. Yeah, which is pretty awesome. So, but yeah. And perfect for sprouting. It's heat tolerant and just keeps on going. As long as you keep those heads pinched, it's like broccoli rabe, broccoli delicious. It's got a very florally broccoli flavor to it though, which I kind of like. But even in the heat, it's got that florally sweetness to it that just doesn't go away. It doesn't get bitter. It stays sweet and tender. Really awesome. And one that I am very, very proud that I selected out and, worked with it and bred myself. And I'm actually working on making it purple, getting a purple variety of it, right? That'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, those are some winter crops there. Getting out of the winter crops. And again, this is just one variety I'm picking on that I grow every year. But all the Brassicas, get them, guys. Grow them. Same with the radishes, same with the peas. These are must-grow crops because they're so easy and productive. And now this one right here, there's not really any varieties that I recommend. This is a singular variety. And this is the Florida cranberry. And this right here is Manchester Black. And I'm very proud again to honk my own horn. This is a variety that I selected out myself. Manchester Black, Florida Cranberry, Jamaican Sorrel. And it gets huge, big red calyx, dark red maroon calyx. The plants are very ornamental. And it is very resistant to powdery mildew and rust. Which years and years ago, this is one that I've been growing for over 10 years. And I originally got the plants. And they're day length sensitive, so they fruit and flower later in the year. right when you start getting dew in the morning, the temperatures are dropping, you get really wet mornings, and that is very, very bad for powdery mildew and rust. It's just, great environment for it, and it would destroy the calyx and just destroy the seed pods if you wanted to save seed. So I started working with it and came out with this variety that is basically 100% resistant to powdery mildew and rust. Pretty much 100%. And so you don't have to worry about that. It's pretty awesome. Florida cranberry is extremely medicinal. It is amazing for your kidneys, cleaning out your system. Quick story, one of my mother-in-law's friends, boyfriend, just had a kidney transplant, and and before then he was in kidney failure, and he thankfully just this past month got a kidney transplant, and he was in full-blown kidney failure for 3 years, well, longer, for years, and I believe 100% he would have died if he did not drink the Florida cranberry, the red tea that the calyx makes, every day. And after his transplant, he was having issues with his kidney kicking in. His kidney production numbers, whatever they call them, were still very low. He was at like I don't know, a 6 or 7. I guess you want it higher. I'm not sure how the numbers correlate. But after he got out of the hospital and got back to drinking his red cranberry tea every day, he is now officially out of kidney failure. I think it's stage 1 is the worst, where he's like in stage 3 now, or is it the other way around? Whatever. He is now officially doing great. Super awesome from drinking cranberry tea. But yeah, must grow plant. It's in the hibiscus family. You can eat the leaves. Everything on it's edible. Super ornamental. And yeah, very fast growing. It is a short-lived perennial, but grows very easy from seed. From this seed, you plant it now, it can be a full-size, 6-inch trunk tree by the time it flowers. But the one good thing about it is, because it is day length sensitive, you can literally plant it, a whole row of it, in August, and they'll only be 2 or 3 feet tall. So they're not monsters, and you just harvest your calyx in September, October, November. So you don't have to have monsters. You can plant the seed any time of year before September and control the size on those. Or you can have literally an entire living hedge. You plant these as soon as the ground is warm, and you can have a 10, 15 foot, 6 foot wide hedge from this little seed in no time. Seriously, guys. They're like monsters. Must grow for the medicinal benefits for your kidneys, your cardiovascular system, and delicious too. And then another one here, and this is just a variety that I've fallen in love with. I also grow one called Early Shallu that we selected out to be very early, about 60 to 90 days. And it is, of course, sorghum. There's been a huge hoopla about chicken feed as of late, and I can attest to that. I've raised a lot of chickens, and I have had issues with my chicken feeds. Maybe I'll make a video on that. So we're trying very hard to grow more of our own chicken food, and we need a lot of it. Trust me, I go through about 100 pounds plus of chicken feed a day. Yeah, feeding all my chickens. And sorghum. This happens to be a white sorghum. It's a white heading. I forgot what am I calling it? I don't remember. I got the seed from somewhere again. I don't remember, but it is a dwarf sorghum, super productive, huge, beautiful heads of snow white seeds that are nice and fat and plump, and only about 3-4 feet tall versus 10 feet plus for my early Shallu, which we're trying to dwarf down. But sorghum is another great crop. The foliage can be cut multiple times throughout the year for livestock, pigs, goats, cows, sheep. And the heads, here in Florida, if we plant early, we can easily get 3, 4, 5, 6 harvests of mature seed per plant, per bed, because you cut the head off and they send up sprouts, and then you harvest those, and we normally cut the whole plant down and it grows up from the base again and do the same thing. And we easily get that multiple times a year. Super productive. The grains are really good tasting. It's a very underutilized grain. And the reason is mostly you just find brown types here in the U.S. and they're really dark, murky tasting. So a lot of people don't like it. But this white variety here that we found is just delicious. Very mild flavor. All the sorghums, they can pop like popcorn, little popped sorghums. Super delicious. You can pop it and eat it like cereal. Pop it and just eat it. Super nutty flavors. Very nutritious. This variety found right here, when the kernels are big and fat and plump, but still in that milky stage, kind of like sweet corn, you cut the head off until they get bigger than my fist. Twice the size. We had a head on a couple last year that were over a pound of sorghum per head. Crazy productive. And when it's still in that milky stage, you go and winnow the seeds off, and you blanch it, and like sweet corn, and you eat it, and they're like little soft, chewy grains, but they're not from mature seeds, so they've got some sweetness to it. Oh wow, that is like my new favorite way to eat sorghum. Harvest the seeds when they're in the milk stage, winnow them off the head, and butter, blanch it, dump it in a fine strainer, and put it in a bowl. Salt and butter, guys. It is delicious. Trust me. And this white variety, of course, nice and white. You can let it dry like these and grind it into flour. Super delicious. Add it to your breads. Make a porridge out of it. Or you just take the whole seeds like this and throw them in your soups and stews. They may take a little bit longer to cook. You can kind of cook it like rice. A cup of sorghum, 2 cups of water. Bring it to a boil. Let the water boil off. Put a plate on it and let it sit for 30 minutes, an hour. And you got nice, fluffy cooked sorghum that you just eat it like a rice, Add your butter to it, some soy sauce. Super delicious. But there are multiple varieties, but I recommend either my early Shallu, which is really productive, keeps the bugs off, super disease resistant, super pest resistant, super productive. Same with the white Sudanese here, I think is what, I think that's originally where I got the seed from out of, somebody had brought in test seed, and it was out of Africa, I believe. White Sudan, I'm not sure 100%, but amazing variety that does very, very well here. Super productive, very early sorghum, guys. You can eat it, the livestock can eat it, and you can cut it multiple times throughout the season. And so let's go. These right here. Now, I love beans, but one of the biggest issues I have with beans of all types, and here's another bean variety right here, and that's okra in the center, but the beans, we'll talk about these two. The bugs, these sucking insects, that's a range of bugs, leaf hoppers, shield bugs, actual stink bugs, but they're all stinking, sucking insects. They all have something in common. One, they have a smell to them. Some smell pretty good. Some smell like cheese. Some smell like burning acid. Some will shoot acid into your eyes, literally. But they all have frickin' babushkas, that they love to jam into your seeds. And once they do that, it's done. That seed is dead, will not grow. That is a major issue with the sorghum I have, They're warm season bugs, and they are 100%ers. They will stick it through the pod into the seed, suck out the juices while they're, spitting their stomach enzymes into it to, turn it into sloppy mush and suck it out, and they destroy it. It's horrible. And these right here are red noodle beans. And I love the noodle beans of all types. This happens to be red noodle, but there are green varieties and other varieties. But the one amazing thing that these guys have is, it's kind of counter, but they attract the sucking insects like crazy. These pods, especially the red noodle, which is the only one I really grow. I grow a couple others, but this is the most productive and best tasting in my opinion. These can get 2 foot long beans on them, and literally the sucking insects, for whatever reason, they are very attracted to these noodle beans. And I actually plant them as a a crop. What do you want to call it? Sacrificial crop to get the bugs off of my sorghum or my other plants. And the stink bugs will all go to these noodle beans. They just love them. But the amazing thing about the noodle beans is even though they get damaged for whatever reason, they've just evolved that does not kill the seed. What? Right? It's crazy. Um, I have almost completely given up on growing cowpeas. There's thousands of varieties of cowpeas, black eyed peas in the summer because they are 100% destroyed by the sucking stink bugs. 100%. Doesn't matter the variety. I've tried growing older varieties, I've tried growing commercial varieties. My cowpeas the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years, 100% destroyed by stink bugs, sucking insects. Same, I'll just call them stink bugs. And I haven't been able to stop it. I use zero sprays. I don't spray. And unless you're spraying something toxic, really, there's nothing that's going to kill the stink bugs, anyways. Their numbers have just gotten so extreme. And they're not even invasive. There are the invasive stink bugs that are here in Florida, but even the native varieties, the native shield bugs, the native leafhoppers, the adults go and suck on the plants. They lay thousands of eggs throughout the season, and then you've got the babies crawling everywhere, literally thousands of them. And the only real way to get rid of them is sit there by hand and pick them off and crush them and throw them to the chickens or something. But that's impractical, especially on the scale of the food that I grow. And we plant over an acre of everything, and even though we don't do huge monoculture, I spread things out, and it doesn't matter. You can plant one, little 2 foot row here, 2 foot row there, all over the place, and the bugs just find them regardless. But these red noodle beans are very resistant to the stink bugs, and they still mature seed. In fact, I think you can even see that on the seed, some of the damage, but these seeds still sprout just fine. You can normally see like black spots on the seed. I don't know if there's too many here. They represent as a brown spot or a black spot. And I normally would kill any other cowpea or corn seed or sorghum seed, but these guys survive it just fine. They are super productive, big, it's something to see, 1-foot-long, 2-foot-long red beans hanging on your trellis. I'll tell you that much. It's pretty crazy. I've got videos up of my red noodle beans. Check those out. Go through my older videos, guys, and you can see the trellises. Every year I grow tons of these red noodle beans. Not only because they keep the bugs off everything else, but they taste great. You can eat them raw, just mashed up when they're nice and thin and young. Mash them up with salt and put a little vinegar on them, and super delicious. Or just a quick stir fry with a little bit of butter or vinegar on them. Super delicious. The vines grow very fast and they're very productive, but they burn out very quick. So these you got to replant multiple times throughout the season, but definitely worth it, guys. So the red noodle beans, the long beans, another must grow variety of seed. Must grow. And I'm going to skip over those right there real quick. And this right here, this is a newcomer to my growing regimen, but I am planting them everywhere this year because I'm very impressed. This is a dry bean, where the red noodle beans, mostly for the pods. The flavor on the seeds, even though they are edible, is not that good. But this right here is the best dried bean that I have ever found, not only for everything, but for flavor. And I started growing it last year. We're calling it Belize black bean. It is a very vigorous vining bean. that loves the heat, loves the heat. And once it's established, it can take the cool nights, but to get started, needs it a bit warm. And then once it's growing, if you dip down cool, like most places, it does just fine. You can even start them in seed cells, somewhere warm, and then put them out because they like it a bit warm to sprout. But after that, as long as you don't freeze, they will grow. But just found these, and the flavor is superb. Absolute superb dried black bean. Very smooth, very nutty, flavorful. They cook very well. They cook very easily, and they cook very creamy without graininess or anything. And so yeah, that's the flavor. Flavor is amazing. Ease of cooking is very, very easy. Boil them. You don't even have to soak them. We tried that. Just put them right into boiling water or cold water and then cook them. You don't even have to soak them, though you can soak them if you want. And then just cold water, get them to boil for an hour or two, and very creamy, delicious, refried black bean kind of things. Or if you want them whole, it's better to soak them and then boil them. Always start with cold water. That way they're plumped up if you want a whole black bean. But absolutely amazing. And before this, I have always given up on trying to grow any kind of dry bean. There's just no point here in Florida. It's either the stink bugs destroy the seeds before they can mature, or most of the beans like it warm, or they have such a long season to mature to a dry bean, the mold and mildew gets to them. It's just what it is. That's another thing about the red noodle beans. The seeds don't mold. They're very resistant to molding, and that is what these are too. I've tried pinto. I've tried a lot of the commercial varieties, even a lot of cowpeas. They are horrible for trying to dry here in Florida, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have this issue in the South. And the bugs, and then the pods get moldy, and the seed is ruined. But this pod is very, very resistant to molding, which is absolutely amazing because they are ripening right in the middle of our rainy season, which is about end of March all the way to November. That's our rainy season here in Florida, where sometimes you get rain every single day. And that, again, with mold. So, got to time that. If you're wanting to save seed, we try to get seed very early in the year or very late in the year, for a lot of things. And beans are horrible for molding. Horrible, horrible. But these Belize black beans get huge, foot-long pods on them. And they're very tough pods. They're definitely not an eating pod bean. They're 100% a dry bean. That's what they were selected for. The pods are like chewing on, corded paper. It's very, they're not edible green. So they've 100% been selected for a dry bean. And the bugs don't bother it. It's just a very tough woody pod. So the stink bugs don't touch it. And when it's drying and maturing, they don't mold. That's crazy. It's very. I've never come across a bean that does not get a moldy pod on it in the high humidity and rain while the seeds are drying. That blew me away when I started growing these in our test trial, and they dry beautifully. The pods go from green to papery white with no mold on them. Very surprising. Not only that, the plants just keep on going. They will have flowers on them, ripe pods on them, and growing pods on them at the same time. They do not slow down. You can leave them on there. You don't have to pick them 24/7, and they just keep growing. That got me too. So it is a very vigorous plant. One plant, literally. I have a video up of these. A couple plants, I think one or two plants, and not even that, took over literally the entire area. But were so productive and so awesome. Yeah, definitely worth growing. Belize black bean, one that I'm going to spread around as much as I can, just for the ease of growth, productivity, and its resistance to bugs and disease issues. Super, super awesome. Must grow. That is a singular variety. And same with the red noodle beans there. That's a singular variety, you know. But amazing, amazing. And right here in the center, we skipped over because we were talking about the two beans, is okra. Okra, guys. I know not everybody likes okra. Not everybody likes okra. That's all right. This is heavy hitter okra. Been growing it a few years. I've got videos up of this, by the way, and I fell in love with this variety. Not the best tasting for flavor. I mean, you know, the pods are standard. They taste like okra. There are better flavored pods out there, varieties, because okra, you know, has flavor. Some are a little spicy. Some are more green flavored. Some, you know, have a nice, rich, creamy flavor. These are very mild flavored. So if you like a mild flavored okra, you don't want a big, strong, you know, musty, green tasting okra. These will suit you just fine. But productivity, wow, these are productive. Oh, gosh, I talk too much. I don't talk so much, guys. Very, very productive. Super beyond productive. Plants, you know, the more you pick, the taller they get, but they will start flowering at only about a foot and then just keep going. Keep them picked. One plant will give you hundreds and hundreds of pods. We are working with this as a dry seed okra to use as seed for chicken feed, which, by the way, people can eat the seeds too, guys. You know, if you harvest your pods and you forget to and they get a little too big, but their seeds are still nice, white, and plump inside, shell the seeds out, start frying them in a little butter, guys, and you eat them like little white peas. Absolutely delicious. Nobody does that, really, you know? And then again, if you got ripe seed, you can use them as sprouts. Remember, every seed here can be used as sprouts. You know, sprouts are super productive. But yeah, super easy to grow, guys. It's okra. It's in the hibiscus family. It can be pretty. You know, you get big yellow flowers. You can make a hedge of it. Super delicious. This variety, heavy hitter, beyond productive. Though, you know, there are okras everywhere that are super productive. Grow okra, guys. Make them into a living, you know, hedge trellis, and then grow beans on them, you know. Some okras can get 10 feet tall easily in a season, and use them as a living trellis to put beans on. Super easy to grow, super productive, super nutritious, and heck, even if you don't like the pods, eat the seeds, you know. Shell the nice white seeds, and when they're tender, eat those, or go get dry seeds, use them as sprouts, or grow literally 500-foot rows of okra and feed the seeds to your chickens for chicken feed. Very high in protein, very palatable. Yeah, grow food, guys, right? And right here, peanuts and squash, guys. Right? Peanuts. This video's getting long, so I'm trying to hurry up. These are Tennessee Red Valencia peanuts. I've grown these for years. I don't even remember where I got the seed from. Absolute years and years and years. It is a super early peanut. These can have peanuts on them, ripe peanuts, in about 60 days for me here in Florida. No joking, about 60 days. Fastest peanut I've ever grown for a ripe pod peanut. You can let them go a little longer and you probably get more. But I like to plant these really dense and harvest them, yeah, literally about 60 to 70 days, ripe peanuts that you can dry and use for seed or whatever. I like to boil them. Great flavor, super early, very productive. You know, one plant will give you about, not as productive as some longer, you know, growth peanuts, but one plant will give you, which is one seed, will give you about 20 pods in return, which isn't bad. And these pods have, I think these guys are 4 to 5 beans in a pod. You know, it just depends. Yep, that's about right. They're about that big, 4 to 5 in a pod. Yeah, it does about 20. Versus something like the other variety I like is called wine, and those will give you literally 200 peanuts per plant. But those guys take 120, 150 days to mature. So a really long season. But these Red Valencia peanuts must grow. Very hard to get hold of seed, though. Very, very hard to get hold of seed, unfortunately. And I don't have this for sale because it's all the seed I have. Last year we got hit by a hurricane, right when I had a whole giant batch of them growing and they got flooded. Yeah, and I lost my entire bed. So I've got to build up my inventory this year before I get to eat them. But that's all right. I'm getting ready to plant these out. And then I'll probably plant them out again in June or July. And then plant them out again in August. And then probably plant them out again in October. So I'll get multiple season harvest in the season. But absolutely my favorite peanut. The earliest variety that I know of. And even if you're outside of Florida, I do not think these would take more than 80 days for you. Yeah, I mean, I don't think so. We get really hot here and they really love the heat and humidity, so they mature very fast. But even if you're in a cooler area, I would guesstimate not more than 80 days easily, because we're about 60 to 70 days for these guys here with me. So you guys should have no problem doing them in 80 days. Yeah. But the only really super productive, super easy, delicious, amazing peanut that I grow, Tennessee Red Valencia, grown it for years, really, really love it. And then, of course, the last seed on the list here, guys, that is a must grow for me, something that I grow every year, all of these I grow every year, is the Seminole pumpkins. And the recent addition is the green ayote squash. This one, I've been selecting it out, and it's a butternut shape. Worked with that, and super green. So I think the Weird Explorer just came out with a video on these, and I think they taste better than he was allotting to, in my opinion. But these are Seminole pumpkin seeds right here. Super vigorous plants, super productive, and perennial. Yeah, this is the real, true, native Seminole pumpkin. I got seed from these, gosh, again, years and years and years ago from a guy down in South Florida, growing on his fence, which I had never seen before. I'd bought seeds from multiple seed sources, and they're all different shapes and weird shapes. I'm like, those are not what they're supposed to look like. And then I found this guy, growing on his fence. I'm like, I stopped at his yard, and what are those? He's like, Seminole pumpkins, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, may I have some seed? And he gave me a whole squash, and I've been growing them ever since. The vines are very vigorous, very vigorous. They will basically root at every point that touches the ground, which is not a bad thing. And they will just grow and grow and grow. And if they do survive your winter or you don't frost, they are perennial. They will just live for years. They won't die back. And the older the vine gets, the more female flowers it will get. I've had vines that have survived 3-4 seasons for me, and I think I don't have any now. They all finally died back on me. I got to replant them this year. And 2-year-old plants on these, after they've come out of the seedling stage, you can get clusters of female flowers. Most squash, you just get one female and then so many nodes and you'll get males, and then another female. Once these mature out of that baby stage, and you can even regrow these from cuttings, guys, Find a spot that's got a node on it, stick it in a pot, they will grow from cuttings. And they produce clusters. I've had clusters of 3-4 female squash flowers per node on mature plants. Pretty crazy, yeah. Again, I've got videos of these up. Check those out, the Seminole pumpkins. You can eat the vine tips. You can eat the young squash like a summer squash. You can eat the flowers. The whole plant's edible. You don't need to grow summer squash, which is odd. Summer squash is actually a winter crop here in Florida because the bugs just destroy it. Very weak actual summer squash, zucchini and the yellow squash. Where these Seminole pumpkins, very disease resistant. Nothing really bothers it disease-wise. The stem borers don't bother it. The stink bugs, those damn sucky insects, don't really bother them. They can get on the fruit a little bit, but the fruits grow so quick, especially when your plants are happy, that any damage normally heals over and they don't have any issues. There are pickler worms that will sometimes bother the fruit, but not really. I don't really go after these for some reason. I don't know why. I think I don't know. Sometimes they'll get a hole. You'll get a pickler worm in one that's green, but then it'll just heal over and no issues. I don't really have any bug issues with my Seminole pumpkins. So yeah, the only thing that really bothers the Seminole pumpkins is sometimes the pickler worms will eat the male flowers, and you don't have any male flowers to pollinate your female flowers. Um, but that's remedied again by healthy plants that, you've got multiple flowers at a time so they can all get pollinated. But nothing really bothers these guys. Super disease, super pest resistant, very, very productive and delicious, guys. These are anywhere from 1 pound to 5 pound fruits. They will store forever on your counter in a cool, even slightly warm spot. I think I've had fruits last 2 years, over 2 years on my counter. And you can eat the seeds, great for sprouting, super delicious, must grow squash. And there's the green ayote squash right there. That is another great one, green fleshed. That's another one we're starting to add in every year because it is such a unique flavored squash. Very green, earthy, but like spinach, literally flavored squash. And again, that one is very disease and bug resistant. Just a different kind of flavor to add into the squash, but definitely worth growing. So there you go, guys. This is a long video, very long. Sorry for that. But I hope I gave you some good info on these. What do I have here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10, right? Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, 10. There's 2 squash. But, 10 seed varieties, species that I grow every single year for productivity, for ease of growth, and just for nutrition, guys. If you were to grow all of these, I don't think you would need anything else, honestly. Though there's nothing really sweet here. That's the only thing, But these are 10 things that I plant every year without fail. Every year. You want to grow food, guys? This is what I grow, just so you know. You got to grow food. Things are wonky in the world, and you never know how crazy things can get, But you don't focus on that. You focus on empowering yourself, empowering your family, and you do that by growing food because you can't beat the nutrition. And just for your mental state, for your well-being, guys, growing food is just amazing. So I'm going to let you guys go. Remember, the most important thing you can do in this new year is, first off, we can't affect everything. Positivity in what we do does affect a lot, but unfortunately, we cannot change everything. We cannot stop the crazies that are running this world unless we all band together and affect that change. And the crazies are really going at it. Gosh, they're going at it, guys, hard. And we are in the crosshairs. They're not the ones that are going to suffer. We are. So you got to start with yourself. Center yourself. Take care of yourself and yours. And, you got to grow food, guys. So, you got your peas, your beans, your legumes. Get you some radishes. Get you some brassicas. Get you some amazing medicinal Florida cranberry. Some Shallu to feed you and your animals. Some great, awesome beans for storage and for eating. And some okra, some fresh green vegetables to feed you again and your chickens, right? And peanuts. You can do so much with peanuts. They store. You can make peanut butter, out of them. You throw them in your soups and stews. You boil them, eat them. Love peanuts. Everybody should grow peanuts. You can stick them everywhere. And the squash. Squash are so easy to grow, especially these Seminole pumpkins, the muscata types. So easy. You can use them so many different ways. You can get your sweetness out of that and make your pumpkin pies, right? Green pumpkin pie, orange pumpkin pie, with the eggs you're getting from feeding them the sorghum and the, okra seeds. Hey, you can grind even this into a crust. Woo! You're right, get a crust, make your pie crust. then feed that to your chickens to get the eggs, and mash it up to get your pumpkin. And for sugar, if you're not going to grow these sorghums, you can find a sorghum to grow. Make yourself some sorghum syrup. You got yourself a pie right there, guys. What? Right? But I love you guys. This was a very long video. If you made it this far, heck, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I can't believe it that people actually watch my videos. Love you guys. See you later. Grow food. 10 seeds that I grow every single year, and they're a must for me. You can tweak it yourself, but grow that food, guys, right? Thank you. This video will probably go up in multiple places, but, like and subscribe. Thank you for following me. Love you guys. Remember, the world's crazy, but we can make it a better place one step at a time. And get to it, guys. Do not let them ruin this beautiful, beautiful planet. Do not let them destroy the lives that they want to destroy. See you later. Love you. Grow food. Seeds. They store forever. Sprout them, cook them, eat them. They're fruits, vegetables you get from them. So much. So much. So amazing. So amazing that you can grow a giant living plant from something so little. That is how awesome life is, and why we can't let them destroy it.